Hello everyone, I'm Rich Lamont. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm glad to have you. So, I had a subscriber request to talk about married wing tails and married wings and mounting them, and wood duck tails. I actually tied a fly the other day that had a wood duck tail in it instead of having a golden pheasant tail. So what I used was the wood duck flank, and he wanted to see how that was done. So this hook here is it's a fly that I started. I was messing around one day and that was as far as I got, so it's been sitting on the bench for probably close to a year, so I figured why not just use it for this. So hopefully you guys can see this. Now, the one thing you got to make sure before you mount a wood duck or married wing for a tail, you got to have a flat spot there to mount it to. Just like you would a golden pheasant crest, you got to have a flat mounting surface. Now, for this, I'm using 74 denier thread. And I am going to very lightly wax the thread with cobbler's wax. And then we're just going to get a, oh shoot. Alright, you want to make sure that your thread is not twisted. For the wood duck tail, you're going to take your wood duck pair, and you want to figure out about where on the feather you want to have as your tail. I like to have it right about, right about here. So what I'll do is, on this feather, cut that bottom part off, and this is what I'm left with. Now I got to figure out how big of a tail do I want? How much of a bar do I want? So, sorry if you can hear that hissing, that's my oxygen. For some reason it seems abnormally loud today. I think that's about, yeah, that's good. We can go thicker, we can go thinner, but for this we'll just do that. And then we're going to go down right here, and again we're going to clip that out. And we're going to have that. This part here, this other side that's all wispy, that's thin, we don't need that. You can strip that off, but leave that rackus on there. You want to have that. So now we do that to the other side. Go up into here, about right there. And clip that off. And then to measure it up, I usually just do this. And line the two rackuses up. You take the other one that you already clipped, stick it up against that, and that's about right. So you go down into here, cut this one off. And then again, strip away that other side. We don't need that. Okay. So now we've got our wood duck. We've got them both clipped and trimmed. So now we line them up back to back like this. Rackuses don't have to be touching. They might be different lengths. That's fine. But you want the barring to line up. You want to make sure that those bars are just about the same, and at the very least, the white barring is the same. Because if that's off, then you're going to see through it. And now, to get the angle that you want on this wood duck, hold these tips, and you can literally change the angle of the barring by twisting the feather. And then you can just go back. Now if you had cut that off of there, and you'd cut these rackuses off, and you did that, forget it. Going back, you would probably wind up with them misaligned, they would come apart, and that's the end of that. If you leave the rackus on there, you can go back, you can realign them again, you can readjust them, you can shift them around. So then you just go through, figure out how much of the tail you want. And as you can see by doing this, it also thins it out, which creates almost kind of helps you almost in tie-in. So then you can take this. I'm getting a little bit of some of it's coming apart right there. Hang on. Prime example of what happens when wood duck comes misaligned. You guys have worked with it already, you know that'd be pretty much the end of it. Okay. So, where were we? So, as you can see, I'm able to almost pinch that down, and that kind of helps the thread a little bit. So if you can do that, you can change the angle of it. You can give it shape. You can play with it. There's a lot of things you can do with it. See? Now to tie that in, I've already got that kind of squished down a little. So take your thread, and you do an easy pass over it, and just let the weight of the bobbin pull down. But don't let off on your pinch on this. Keep that as still as you can. Then you can grab this other side, pinch maybe a little tighter with these just to hold it in place, and use this hand and these two fingers to help kind of adjust it on the hook shank. Give it another wrap, and then maybe a third. Realign it a little bit more, and at this point you should be ready to take a look and see if that's on there. And then you can take that and now once that's there, you can take a drop of head cement, put a little drop of head cement right there, let that dry. Once you get that on there and that head cement dries, then you can go ahead and you can cut this. I'm not going to cut it, I'm actually going to use this for a fly, but cut the wood duck kind of parallel to the hook. That'll help taper that out into the body a little bit so you don't wind up with a little bump right there. See? Hopefully you can. And then of course this angle doesn't have to be so severe. You can change that as well, and bring your thread wraps back a little bit. You might have to take these back apart and work with them a little to kind of get everything 100% back into line, but if the rack is still attached, you shouldn't have any issues. Okay, and it's almost back to the shape that you had it off the feather. So then you can tie that in at a different angle so it's a little less steep, so it's a little more blunt. You can get really crazy with it and tie it nice up and high. So, alright, so that's tying wood duck tails. Hopefully that helped. Now, when you're doing married wings, it's really not all that dissimilar. If you're tying in a married wing tail, you marry your wings together and figure out how you want them to be orientated. Because just like the wood duck, you know, feathers are what's the word I'm looking for? Well, I can't think of it right now. But you can manipulate them quite a bit. You know, after you've married them together, you can shape them a bit. You can change the point on it, and all it takes is just a little bit of finagling. And as you can see by doing this, and just slowly working it through your fingers as you do that, completely changes the shape of the wing. So, usually for tails, that's what I do. Like if I'm doing a Delta style fly and I put one of these wings in there, that's typically how I do it. I'll marry them normal first and then go through and get it ready to tie in. Actually, this wing would look good on this fly, on this hook. Interesting. Alright, so kind of the same deal. You get your wing how you'd like it to be orientated, and then you set it down over the hook, and with your left hand pinch nice and tight around the wing. Right here, where you're going to wrap your thread, I usually pinch on the other side, and I help collapse it a little bit. Some people, I've seen people use like a little paintbrush and brush a little bit of water onto where they're going to marry it in, or where they're going to tie it in. I'm not sure the benefit of that, actually. I don't do it. But you can lick your finger, you can put a little spit there if you like. I just don't. No particular reason, I just don't. I never learned doing it that way. I guess maybe it softens up that tie-in point a little bit. It makes it a little bit easier to tie in, makes it helps it collapse a little more. I prefer to just do it this way. So help it collapse a little bit, and then kind of hold that with this hand if you can. Do one loose wrap, and then a second. And on the second, let the weight of the bobbin hold it, or let the weight of the bobbin hang from it. Hold it with the right hand, and then kind of nestle it around a little bit. Move it around, lift it up off the hook shank, and as you can see, that kind of helps that helps the thread get into that and pinch it down more. And it's not pulling on it too much that it's going to damage the feather. It's just getting in there just enough. And then when you set it down, it should pull into place rather easily. Now you can put a little pressure on it. 3, 4, 5, and you'll see it starts to rotate a little. That's fine. Just grab the wing on the butt end side and then rotate it back. And at this point you should be able to let go and have your wing attached. And that's how you attach them without them collapsing. Once that's on the hook where you like it, put a little drop of head cement there, just like you would with the wood duck, or even a golden pheasant tail. Put a little drop of head cement there, or Sally Henson's super glue. I prefer just a drop of head cement, but yeah, that's how you tie in your wings for married wings for tails. And that's basically the same thing for married wings in general. Oh, sorry for hitting the camera. That's basically the same way for married wings in general. When tying married wings onto the fly, it's the same thing. It's basically the same thing as using just turkey. It's just multicolored because you've changed the order of it. I'm trying to see if I've got a tail or a wing that's got some goose in it. This is not goose. Alright, so here's a green Highlander wing. And this one kind of sitting around too. Had a couple extras made up for when we were doing the kits. So this one's got golden pheasant on top, which is notorious for not wanting to play very nice. This is a little different because there's no underwing here, and there's no hackle or anything. But when you're tying in your married wings, it's kind of along the same deal as it was back there. You're just changing the location of where you tie it in. So when you're, for one, there's usually an underwing of a golden pheasant or something, but some wings there isn't. So we're going to pretend that there's not on this one. So I can find a piece of hackle that I can just wrap on there just for bulk. Something that can just be in the way. Alright, so here's some hackle now. Don't laugh at me because this is just going to be literally a hack job. Okay, that's a bit extreme. Alright, so let's pretend that's the hackle in the throat. I'll split that down. Sometimes I'll do that, it'll kind of pinch the hackle just enough to keep it down out of the way. Boom. That was interesting. Got a little, what's the word? Overzealous. By the way, somebody else had mentioned on that fly, it had a very kind of pronounced shape at the front where the wing blended perfectly, the front edges blended perfectly. How I do it, I don't know if this is how others do it, but how I do it is to partially go over your hackle. Back wrap over your hackle just a little bit. Don't go way over to where you can actually see, like, you don't want to cut off your hackle completely like that. But by going over just the front of it, if you can keep your bulk down low enough, you can actually blend your wing and your hackle on that point right on the nose really nicely. Okay, so now we've got some hackle on there, and now we've got our wing. So we're gonna do the same thing I did back here. Hold the wing. For married wings, in this orientation, there's a different style to married wings, but for this style that I'm showing you, you want to have the angle of the tips making a backslash like this. Alright, and keep the wing shape almost like a banana. Nice gradual curve to it. And it's okay if it's pointing down towards the tail, almost touching the hook shank. That's fine. You almost even want that, and I'll show you why in a minute. Alright, so now you're going to grab it up here nice and firm. And just like we did before, we're going to help it collapse. Just help it collapse a little bit. Push down on right there by the tie-in point. Now you're going to do 1, 2, and just let it hang. Then I grab the wing, kind of move that around, get that sitting how you want it. You can almost rotate it towards you a little bit, because especially married wings that are a little bigger, when you pull them to tighten them up, the material tends to roll a little bit. So you can just kind of pull it this way a little. And go 3, 4, 5, and you should be able to let off. And now kind of sweaty fingers. Not good for fly tying. Alright, so now you can position it on the hook how you like. Now obviously this doesn't fit this hook, so it looks very awkward, and in a sense it's kind of bothering me. But you can also, if this angle is too much for you, or if it's too angled, you can untie it, and just take your fingers and hold it very gently here in the middle, and then just roll to your right a little. You roll your fingers just a little bit like this. That'll help slide those feather particles, or the feather barbs. And then each wing, front and back, will also slide on each other, so you can line them up. Lining those up is also quite important. Alright, so say you wanted it a little shorter, you wanted this angle a little steeper. You get it where you want it, and you hold it nice and firm. Collapse to one side. Now if that happens where it wants to jump to the right, take your bobbin and spin it clockwise, or excuse me, spin it counterclockwise for a little ways until you see it start to twist up. And when you go to do a loose wrap, it'll automatically want to jump to your left, which will put it right where you want it. It'll go right up against your fingers, and you can drop right down onto your wing. I think I may have lost a golden pheasant piece. Yep, sure did. Oh, yeah, this one didn't even make it in. So, anyway, you can see the wing is in now. The angle is a little steeper. That's nice and tight. You can go ahead and add a drop of head cement to that. And if you start to see that it's slipping a little bit, where are they? And you'll see that the wing will start to slip and spread kind of around the hook like that. You can take your tweezers, hold it firm with your left hand. Let's see if I can get this. And then right here with your tweezers, right next to the tie-in point, either front or behind it, use the tweezers to squeeze. And that'll pull those materials back closer towards the middle. And it won't be dropping around the side of the hook so much. Okay, so that is tying in married wing and wood duck tails, and then married wings in a sense, so that way they don't fall apart. Hope that helped everybody. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, think about subscribing. That really helps me out. Seeing that people are interested in my content, it really helps me know that I'm doing the right things, and that I'll keep making that kind of content for you guys. If you got any suggestions or comments, leave them in the comment section. I'm happy to get to them. I'm usually pretty good about answering, so usually within a day or so I'll get back to you. But I appreciate you guys watching very much. It means a lot to me. Hope you guys have yourselves a wonderful day. Until the next video, tight lines, everyone.